right, guys, welcome into week two of Talking SEC Review. I'm your host, Kenneth, and we got live games going on right now. But before we get into that, would be remiss if I did not honor the lives that was lost 20 years ago on September 11th, 2001. World Trade Center, Pentagon, Pennsylvania. So before we get started, we're just going to take a brief moment of silence as we honor those lives that were lost in that horrific event. All right, guys. Like I said, just could not start the show without a moment of reflection on that. So let's get into the earlier action. Excuse me. We got some games to talk about, and we got some interesting storylines because in the earlier game, and I'll probably only briefly mention this game just because it was a lopsided score and it was supposed to be. Auburn beat Alabama State 62-0. But here's the takeaway from that ball game, guys. Bo Nix played like Bo Nix once again against a team from the Southwest Athletic Conference, or the SWAC. Bo Nix was 9 for 17, 108 yards passing with 2 passing touchdowns. This is against Alabama State, not against Alabama. So what do we take away from that? Bo Nix is a 50% completion percentage against at least decent conference competition. He's just not a good quarterback. And at some point, the question is going to have to be asked to head coach Brian Hartson. When does he make the move to TJ Finley? Because Auburn has a big-time matchup next week when they travel up to Happy Valley to take on Penn State. Yeah, Bo Nix is not going to lead them to anything other than a 5-7 or 6-6 record this year. I do not trust Bo Nix whatsoever to be that kind of quarterback with this many starts underneath his belt in college. So really disappointed by his performance. And like I said, I don't see a whole lot of improvement for Bo Nix. Taking a look back at some other action. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm just getting this pulled up here on the screen. I'll get to the Tennessee game here in just a moment, but Alabama beat Mercer 48-14. That's not the storyline coming out of this ball game. Star linebacker Will Anderson went down in the third quarter with some type of knee injury. I'm still getting messages coming in. Doesn't look to be too severe, but that was a boneheaded decision by Nick Saban to still have Will Anderson in the game. There is nothing that you needed to work on in that ball game with Will Anderson still being in the contest. So if that is only a minor injury and it keeps him out of next week, that's something Nick Saban is going to have to definitely step up to the podium and take full accountability before, because we saw this a couple of years ago when Alabama was up huge in the first half against Mississippi State. He allows Tua to go back into the game. Tua suffers that devastating hip injury, and basically derailed Alabama's chance for a national championship. Hopefully, that isn't a repeat for Alabama fans coming up here this season. Got a live look in. We got about 11 seconds left in the first half. Missouri is on the move. Looks like they got a completed pass inside the Kentucky. Okay, so they are in the red zone. Okay, so they're inside the Kentucky 20 and just got a touchdown. We'll check the flag, but it looks like pass interference on Kentucky. And if that is the case, Missouri just scored to pull within 21-13 PA pending. Okay, it is pass interference and touchdown good. Looks like Chris Rodriguez set up going in for a touchdown for Kentucky, fumbled. Great job by Missouri recovering that fumble and going down the field and really staying in this ball game with a much-needed touchdown. Great question, Jet. This was, and you heard all week long Nick Saban really talk about how disappointed the effort was in practice. So really wanted to kind of make a statement with his starters. There's making a statement, and then there's being stupid. And I would absolutely call Nick Saban or any other coach on the carpet for doing something that is completely boneheaded. And we saw it a couple of years ago, like I said, with Tua. If Will Anderson goes down, Alabama still has a good defense. It does not have a great defense. A great defense gets you a national championship this year. A good defense gets you to the SEC championship game and maybe a berth into the college football playoffs. So, like I said, that's something Nick Saban's definitely going to have to answer for. And the injury report on that young man will definitely be something worth watching. All right, so we're getting ready to go into the half here, Kentucky at Missouri. Texas A&M with a clunker of a ball game versus Colorado out in Denver. Haynes King, the highly touted freshman for Texas A&M, went down with some kind of leg injury. Don't have the extent of that injury at the moment, but Zach Calzada came in and finished up the game going 18 for 38, 183 yards, and one touchdown in that game. Texas A&M trailed the entire ball game until Isaiah Spiller went in for a winning touchdown in that ball game. Okay, we just got a score in the Mississippi State-NC State game. Mississippi State, with a touchdown from Will Rogers, is now up 20-3. PAT is pending. Okay, yeah, Jet. Chris Allen is likely out for the season with foot surgery coming up. Won't know the extent of that rehab until they actually go in and do the surgery. I think if he hasn't had the surgery already, should have it this coming week sometime. You're right. Alabama defense is among the best, but you can't afford to lose a player like Will Allen, especially in a game that he had no business being in the second half to begin with. Like I said, just a boneheaded decision by Nick Saban, and he needs to step up and talk about that. Florida, South Florida. Good win by Florida in this contest, but we really got to talk about this contest because there is some questions that Dan Mullen needs to address, and he addressed those Credit to Dan in his post game press conference. He said there's no quarterback controversy. Emory Jones will be the starting quarterback. And I'm going to let you guys explain this to me because I've been around this game for almost 40 years at the college level and the pro level. And I really need someone to explain to me what's going on with Dan Mullen. Both quarterbacks had basically the same passing yardage in this ball game. Emory Jones 151 yards, Anthony Richardson 152 yards passing. Guys, that's not the story. Anthony Richardson went 3 for 3 with 152 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Emory Jones was 14 for 22, 151 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 INTs. To pull up their stats so far against the same competition, Emory Jones is okay. Those stats haven't updated yet, so I'll get back to that here in just a second. But Emory Jones is about let's see if we can do the math real quick. 2 touchdowns, 4 INTs. It looks like that's not good. And let's see, 31 for 51, 264 yards passing. Anthony Richardson, and the fact that he is not going into the next game as the starting quarterback, and I'll get to that question, Jed, here in just a second, because it looked like he had some issues with his hamstring in a game late in the fourth quarter that he had no business being in. I don't understand what these coaches are doing, leaving their guys out there being exposed to hits unnecessarily. Okay, so Anthony Richardson, 6 for 11, 192 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no INT. And that doesn't even include his rushing yards. So the fact that Dan Mullen is going to let Emory Jones start next week against Alabama, it's mind-numbing. Yes, I've heard from some prominent Gator fans and boosters. They are not happy with Dan Mullen, and this is going to put pressure on Dan. Okay, so if Dan Mullen does not have a really good showing next week against Alabama, you could start hearing the whispers of Dan Mullen may be looking to be help shown the door, if you will. Because that is just an absolutely foolish decision by Dan Mullen not to go ahead and name Anthony Richardson the starting quarterback. I mean, I'm sorry. There's ego and then there's stupidity. What Dan Mullen is doing is ego and stupidity. And all of this talk about Dan Mullen being a quarterback whisperer, okay, you got the better quarterback sitting on the bench. Makes no sense to me, but that's why he's the head coach of Florida. And if he doesn't produce this season, he will join Jim McElwain and Ron Zook, Will Muschamp, and that's being fired at some point. Because the Florida fans expect to play for and contend for SEC championships and to be in the national championship race. This is not going to sit well with those Florida fans. Absolutely correct. Okay, live look in. Ole Miss up on Austin Peay 37-7. Going to be really interested to see how long Lane Kiffin keeps Matt Corral in, because it seems to me the push is trying to get Matt Corral the Heisman Trophy instead of win ball games. That may come back to bite Lane, especially if Matt goes down with an injury in a game that he shouldn't be in. Okay, so Tennessee loses to Pitt in the Johnny Majors game, because Johnny Majors played and coached at Tennessee, also was a fantastic coach for the University of Pitt. And Jed, I'll get to your question here in just a second. Okay, so in this ball game, Tennessee under head coach Josh Heupel. And guys, I talked about this on my show at the Crunch Time Sports Advantage Network. You can see that where you can follow us on Twitter at Crunch Time VIP. I want you to listen to these stats for Tennessee, and you tell me if this is a well-coached team, a disciplined team, or a team that's completely dysfunctional. Tennessee went 6 for 13 in this ball game on third downs. Tennessee had 13 penalties for 134 yards. Tennessee lost 2 fumbles and threw an INT, 3 turnovers, forced no turnovers, so -3 in the turnover ratio. Not going to win a lot of games when you are -3 in the turnover battle. Josh Heupel is more concerned with running this up-tempo offense than he is about doing what's best for his team, who only has 71 scholarship players on the roster. This is coaching malpractice, because you haven't even gotten into the heart of SEC play yet, and you are already taking on water by some really bad coaching decisions there. So I don't know what to make out of Josh Heupel. I do know what to make out of Josh Heupel. He's a coaching failure, and the only reason he has this job is literally because no other coach in college football was going to take this job at Tennessee. That's how bad this program is. And mind you, they still have potential NCAA sanctions hanging over their heads. Just got a picture of, I'm sorry, I was distracted for just a second. Haynes King with that lower leg injury was seen in a walking boot and on crutches. That young man's season could be in jeopardy depending on how bad that ankle injury is. Arkansas is pulling away from Texas in this ball game, which I got to be honest, I did not see this game going this direction. 23-7. Mississippi State still up 21-3 about halfway through the third quarter. As we go into halftime, Ole Miss up 37-7. There's no reason for Matt Corral to still be in this ball game. Lane Kiffin, if Matt gets hurt in this ball game, you and I will have a conversation, my friend. LSU up 14-0 over McNeese. 5 minutes left to go in the first half. You know what? Let's just go ahead and get into it here. Les Miles was basically shown the door. Ed Orgeron is working on that same path. Ed Orgeron And I'm going to take you guys through this whole entire story because I have some time here as I'm going to be with you for another hour and 40 minutes. Ed Orgeron, when Dave Aranda, the defensive coordinator of the national championship team there in 19, is one of the names that you don't hear mentioned with LSU. You hear Joe Brady, rightfully so. You hear Joe Burrow, rightfully so. But it is time to put some respect, LSU fans, on Dave Aranda's name because your defense, when Dave Aranda was the defensive coordinator, was not this bad. So I'm going to run through these numbers for LSU from last season. Mind you, Bo Pelini was the defensive coordinator there. LSU was, out of 14 teams in the SEC, 10th in points per game allowed at 35 points per game. LSU is supposed to have the best cornerback tandem with Derek Stingley Jr. and Eli Ricks, and not just the SEC, but all of college football. Last year, they allowed their opponents to pass for 323 yards per game. That's not their total offense allowed. That's their passing yards allowed. Dead last in the SEC. This run defense allowed 169 yards per game. That was ninth in the SEC. And as far as total defense, this LSU team, who wants to refer to themselves as DBU, gave up 492 yards per game last season. The only team that was worse was Ole Miss. LSU was one of the worst defenses last year. Bo Pelini should have been let go. No question about it. In comes two new coordinators. Jake Peetz on the offensive side. Jake Peetz was supposed to install the Joe Brady offense because he was 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon with Joe Brady, and was hired to kind of give LSU that look again, what they had a couple of years ago when they won a national championship. I heard all week long last week that UCLA had not played anybody but Hawaii. Here's UCLA's numbers last week against LSU, because this year's supposed to be different under Durante Jones, the defensive coordinator who came from the NFL with about 5 years experience. Mind you, not a defensive coordinator, a defensive back position coach. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who by no stretch of the imagination is a high completion percentage passer. You could say his numbers and Bo Nix's numbers are very comparable. Last week against LSU, he was 9 for 16, 260 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 INT. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 16.3 yards per attempt, and just yards per completion, almost 29 yards per completion. This LSU team is why Vegas did not trust Ed Orgeron and had their win total set at 8. LSU still has on its schedule Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Florida, Alabama, Arkansas, and Texas A&M. It is not out of the realm of possibility that LSU has 4 losses this season. If Ed Orgeron goes 8-4, 7-5 this year. Ed Orgeron will be fired this season. Don't believe me? Ask Auburn and ask Gene Chizik what happened to him 2 years after a national championship. Auburn, after winning their first national championship in well over 5 decades, fired the only head coach in most Auburn fans' lifetime, fired him 2 years removed from a national championship. LSU has a lot of questions that they're going to have to answer. I don't think that they have the leadership on the field. I don't think that they have the leadership at the head coaching position. They certainly don't have the experience at the coordinator position because this is the first time EJ or Durante Jones has been a coordinator at any level. You are going to have to rectify this situation, and you really got one more week to do it before you start getting into conference play because your conference opponents will not show you any mercy. This is going to be an interesting season here in the SEC, no question about it. Oh, no, it would not be hard for them to fire Dan Mullen whatsoever. There's more than enough money there at the University of Florida. If they are not happy with Dan Mullen, they will absolutely fire him. This is the SEC. We saw 4 head coaches let go during a pandemic last year. So him getting that extension doesn't mean anything. No, sir. I do not subscribe to that. As far as Dan Mullen taking an NFL job, I will say this on the record here because I've said it everywhere else. Dan Mullen, through his agent, tried to get an NFL job last year before that game against LSU. I won't name the teams. So Dan can say that he didn't directly have talks with any NFL team. It was done through his agent. I will tell you, talking with one NFL team that Dan Mullen tried to get a job with, after getting off the phone with his agent, that general manager started laughing, saying there is no way that we would ever consider Dan Mullen as a head coach candidate. And I'll give you the backstory from the NFL side of it, guys. Okay, so when an NFL team wants to interview a current college head coach, they will go through the university, request permission, and if it's granted, then they will interview that head coach, that college head coach. That's, like I said, if he is a current head coach and not just fired. So like we saw with Urban Meyer, who wasn't fired, but wasn't a current head coach. So Jacksonville could interview him at any time because he wasn't a current head coach. No NFL team reached out to the University of Florida to request permission to interview Dan Mullen last year. So the NFL has no interest in hiring Dan Mullen unless for some odd reason the Dallas Cowboys fire Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott campaigns for his former head coach at Mississippi State, Dan Mullen. I don't see Dan Mullen ever in the NFL coaching any team because, one, Dan Mullen does not have a really good reputation in NFL circles. That's not breaking news there. Dan Mullen, um, with certain franchises in the NFL, let's just say, um, has flat out lied to them about certain players that he's coached. Okay, we just got a huge turnover coming out of the half with Missouri and Kentucky. Missouri had the ball. Connor Bazelak going across the middle, and he is absolutely picked off here. And it was just a fantastic interception there by, and I'm trying to see if I can get that player's name here real quick. It was a bad read by Bazelak, and the defensive back, number 10. I can't get a name off the jersey yet, but just a fantastic play there by the cornerback. Jones. Okay, so Jones with a great interception. We got a sudden change here, and Kentucky looking to go up by 2 scores in this ball game. So we've already covered all of the games in the first half, and we got let's see, trying to see if I can get. Okay, looks like Mississippi State is starting to put a chokehold on this big run there by Chris Rodriguez, dropping his shoulder, going down inside the 5-yard line. So Kentucky looking to really stamp this game right here, right now. I think a touchdown here for Kentucky would be absolutely huge in this contest. Chris Rodriguez running like the talented running back that he has been, and with a passing game now, he can take that 8th guy out of the box and really just feast on and pounds it in for the touchdown. Kentucky goes up 27-14 PAT forthcoming. Looks like we're about to go into half with LSU up 17 to nothing over McNeese. We do have one late kickoff tonight, and that is Vandy going out to Fort Collins, Colorado, to take on the Colorado State Rams. One of these teams are going to get their first win of the season, and for SEC, you're hoping it's Kentucky because wins are going to be hard to come by for the Commodores this year. Texas is absolutely getting the hammer laid to them in this contest against Arkansas. 33-7. Texas is inside the Arkansas 30, but there is only 10 seconds left to go in the third quarter. So unless there's a major collapse here, look for Arkansas to get a big win over a former Southwest Conference rival and soon to be SEC rival in the Texas Longhorns. And I can tell you, talking to plenty of Arkansas fans, they've hated Texas longer than all of us have been alive. So to beat the University of Texas in Arkansas is going to be a very sweet win for that program. And in a non-SEC game, because this is just worth to mention, we talk about the Alabama hangover. Going into the fourth quarter, the University of Miami is up 19-17 over App State. Like I said, not an SEC game, but you talk about that post-Alabama hangover. Miami is definitely feeling that right about now. Okay, so point after kick was good. With 13 minutes left to go in the third quarter, Kentucky is up 28-14. So Kentucky really putting their stamps on this ball game. And Mississippi State's got the ball back with about 3 minutes left to go in their contest. and they are inside the North Carolina State 40-yard line. Looks like Will Rogers just completed a pass to Jaden Watley for 13 yards to get in there. Hey, Scott, welcome aboard, man. Yeah, Arkansas is looking really good in this contest. And this would be a huge win for Sam Pittman and a catastrophic loss for Steve Sarkisian there for Texas. Just to shed a little bit of light, like I said, these two teams used to be old Southwest Conference rivals. And when it comes to big money donors, let's just say this game is going to have some long-lasting implications there in the Metroplex in Dallas if this score holds up. We're going to see if North Carolina State is able to crawl back into this ball game. Down 21-3, really cannot afford to give up any more points in this ball game to Mississippi State. So 3rd and 7 on the NC State 37. This is a must stop for NC State in this ball game. Excuse me. At the half, Ole Miss up 37-7 over Austin Peay. Really would not be keeping much of an eye on that ball game unless something really bad happens in that ball game. One more early game that I did not touch on. Hey, Scott. Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of Georgia fans. As long as Coach Pittman is not playing the University of Georgia, you guys would definitely be in that coach's corner. Great offensive line coach there for the University of Georgia. Speaking of Georgia, let's get into their ball game. 56-7. Quarterback JT Daniels out sidelined with an oblique injury. That's the official word. We'll say there may be a little more than just an oblique injury. So the question was, who was going to be the starting quarterback for Georgia in this ball game? Would it be highly touted Carson Beck, or would it be Stetson Bennett? Stetson Bennett got the start, went 10 for 12, 288 yards, 5 passing touchdowns. So as much as that young man was criticized last year and shouldn't have been, because in the game against Alabama, Stetson Bennett kept Georgia in that ball game, and I don't recall Stetson Bennett playing defense that first half against Georgia when Georgia gave up 38 points in the first half to the University of Florida. So no, Beck is not ready, and I thought it was a wise decision not to play him in this ball game. So where does that leave the University of Georgia? Because Beck did get in late in the ball game. Nothing significant as far as that goes, but I would say if JT is out and this offense really struggling to really get their feet going, going to be interested to see how the rest of the season goes there for the University of Georgia. Taking a look at that run game, there was not a single running back for the University of Georgia that had 40 yards rushing in the ball game. Scott, man, you tell me, because this is a question I would love for you to drop in the chat here. How do you explain this run game against UAB and not one single running back being able to get 40 yards rushing? Zamir White had 34 yards on 7 carries. Kendall Milton, 26 yards on 8 carries. James Cook, 5 carries, 18 yards. And he had a 14-yard run. So you take out of that 4 carries, 4 yards. This offensive line for the University of Georgia better start getting some things worked out, because if your expectations are to be met, having this kind of run game, it is not going to get you there. I mean, I'm sorry, and I left out McIntosh. 4 carries, 20 yards with a 12-yard run. So if you take out those long runs for those Georgia running backs, this is even a worse performance. And questions in Athens have to be asked about, is this Georgia offensive line going to be the reason why you don't ultimately get to a national championship this season? We know the defense is more than capable enough, especially that front seven, of getting there. Okay, so you're saying UAB stacked the box and left wide receivers open. Unless they put 11 in the box, Scott, I'll go back and watch the abbreviated version of that game. But the University of Georgia recruits offensive linemen that aren't going to play for UAB, that aren't going to be playing for Jacksonville State or South Florida. These are supposed to be 4- and 5-star recruits on that offensive line. I don't care if UAB puts 9 in the box. Run the ball. And you're going to need to run the ball, especially when you're playing better competition. Right now, a beautiful shovel pass there by Connor Baselak to Parker to go in for a touchdown to pull this game back to a one touchdown score here. 28-20 with the PAT coming out. Just a beautiful shovel pass there, and just walks into the end zone. So this is why it was vital for Kentucky to take advantage of that interception to keep that cushion of 1 touchdown. Yeah, Scott, thanks. Like I said, if they're putting 9 in the box, this is UAB putting 9 in the box. It's not like it's Clemson putting 9 in the box. You're supposed to have a talent advantage over UAB. Your offensive line should be able to dominate a team like UAB. I know UAB is fantastically coached there by their head coach, but this is inexcusable. I'm not asking for a running back to have 150 yards in this ball game. You can't get to 40. Georgia fans need to start asking some questions about that. Now, here's some more positives. The tight end Bowers, 3 receptions, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns. Really good showing there by that young man there. And yeah, Scott. So in case you guys missed it, in my preseason poll over at the Crunch Time Sports Advantage Network, I was asked to rank how I expected these teams to finish. I have Kentucky actually finishing second in the SEC East Division, and I'm going to see if I can pull that up for you, because I truly want you guys to be able to see that here. So let's see if I have that or not. Hmm. Okay, I don't know if it's going to let me pull that up or not, but we will see. All right, so that's the problem. And great point, Scott. But I will say this: uh, you're the University of Georgia in a ball game like this. You shouldn't have to take what's given to you. You should just take whatever you want. So I would say, in just being a neutral observer here, it doesn't look like it's going to let me pull that up here. But if I'm able to find it, guys, I will post that. But here's the story with Georgia against a team against a lesser team. You need to be able to impose your will, um, because not every opponent is just going to allow you um, to dictate tempo on the offense. Sometimes the defense is going to force you um, to beat them left-handed, and I don't think this University of Georgia team right now is good enough to win a national championship. I know it's only week 2, but at some point you're going to have to demonstrate the ability to win um, a hard-fought game with your running game, because that game last week against Clemson, and credit to Georgia for winning it, because they made one less mistake than Clemson in that ball game. You put up 3 offensive points in that ball game. Clemson put up 3 offensive points. If you're going to count on a pick six to be the difference in your season being successful or not a good recipe. Okay, so Kentucky's in a dogfight here, and I will say this is a big third down and 10 for Kentucky. Missouri is feeling really good about themselves right now, and the last thing you want to do is give this team confidence. Okay, just checking the update there. Looks like Mississippi State is in the red zone once again. Great defensive stand there for the University of Missouri. Guys, we're halfway through the third quarter, and unless Missouri botches this punt return, they're going to get the ball back with a chance to even this ball game up. Fellow Gator scoff when I say Florida's likely to, yeah. Tell your Florida fans, fellow Gator fans there, they better be highly concerned about the University of Kentucky right now, because this Kentucky offense is legit, and if they're able to hold on to this ball game here against Missouri, going to put themselves in real good position there in the SEC East. Hey, David, welcome in, my friend. Yeah, the Hogs are definitely whipping up on Texas. Now, Texas did go in and score. That game is 33-14. About 12 minutes left to go in that ball game, and Arkansas is right at midfield right now. Baselak just overthrew the wide receiver by a good 8 yards on a go route. Welcome to. Oh man, you know what, SEC fans, this is going to be real interested to see just how you guys welcome in the University of Texas into the SEC. Scott, that may be a reason, but honestly, it's more like an excuse for me. Kirby Smart's been there going into his sixth season now. You haven't lost that many offensive linemen due to injury. So let's just say your run game through 2 games, if we're grading it, it's an F. I mean, it's just an F. Now your defense, A plus. Your run offense, a complete F. Now, Jet, did they fumble? Yeah, yeah, they did. Okay, so that fumble could, but I think that was offset by them getting that interception right at the beginning of the second half and punching that in. So basically, that was a trade-off there. North Carolina State is trailing Mississippi State 21-3. Just getting started in the fourth quarter, and right now, you know what? Let's refresh that because I thought that game was a little bit further along than that. Okay, so right now, Mississippi State, if they're able to get any points on this drive and they're inside the red zone right now, I think that could be the death knell in this ball game. And we're still at the half, waiting on LSU McNeese to come out for the second half here. And we got the Vanderbilt Colorado State game getting ready to kick off here in about 10 minutes or so. Arkansas is just absolutely laying the hammer. I mean, just laying the hammer. Just went in for another touchdown. Point after was good, 40-14. Got to say, this may be my surprise game of the day because I did not have this result being what it is. Full transparency, did not pick this game, but thought Texas would handle Arkansas by 10 and to be trailing by 26. Man, Steve Sarkisian, this is not the start you needed there at Texas. I know you got a win last week against Louisiana, but this is not good, man. Yeah, Jed, like I said, I honestly thought that Texas would win by 10 points in this ball game. And to see it coming down to this is, in a word, shocking. So, yeah, basically, North Carolina State is going to look like, well, we'll see. You never know with Mike Leach. Mike Leach could absolutely go for it here on fourth down. No reason to, man. Take the points. Make this a 3-touchdown ball game. And NC State has not shown any ability to put the ball in the end zone this entire ball game, which I also will say, had North Carolina State winning this contest, and it doesn't look like that's going to hold up. All right, so Missouri is right at midfield, second down and 20. I'm sorry, second down and 10. Dangerous pass across the middle. Okay, just a thought here on Connor Baselak. You can't be late throwing across the middle. Almost was picked off there again. Jet, I won't post your question, but I'll say this without giving away a lot of information here. So and I'll just give an example here. When scouts are getting ready to come into a team's pro day, they're giving, depending on the relationship that head coach has with that general manager, that scout, or that head coach, they'll I'm trying to see how I want to phrase this. They'll say, okay, this player is dealing with a soft tissue injury. So the 40 time that he may run at the combine, or if he doesn't run at the combine, you can go back to his junior day workout and you can have a legit 40 time on that player. And then what'll usually happen is there'll be a second workout with that player if he's not a full go, because what you want to do is you want to give these teams in the NFL as much information that will help not only them make a good decision, but also help one of your players go higher in the draft. And this is something that goes back to Dan's time at North Carolina State. He wasn't the most forthcoming with injuries, off-field issues, things of that nature. And it really pushed some guys at Mississippi State down the board. And I will tell you, some of the Florida players have definitely been pushed down the board because of the lack of forthcoming from Dan Mullen. Now, a coach is supposed to protect their players. And if a guy's nicked up, if you communicate with that team, that scout saying, hey, he's not going to be ready to go for the combine, but he looks like he should be ready to work out for the pro day at every university. Let's just say Dan doesn't have a really good reputation in a lot of NFL circles. I want to be careful how much I say and how specific I get with that. So I'll leave the rest of that conversation right there. But Jet, thanks for asking. And like I said, hopefully that touches on it just a little bit, but not really giving you a lot of details on that. All right, we're coming up on the top of the 9 o'clock hour, which means I'm with you guys for another 55 minutes here. And we're seeing beautiful run there by Smoke for Kentucky, picking up a big first down because Kentucky's looking to push that lead out back to 2 scores here. And I think a touchdown here could be very significant. Beautiful. Sticks his foot in the ground and gets upfield. That's what running backs are taught. Make one move and get upfield. Want to see the rest of this game with Kentucky. Does this offensive line that I talked about really start to lean on this Missouri team now. Big shot here. Wide receiver, is that Wan'Dale Robinson that wasn't able to make that catch? Yeah, looks like Wan'Dale Robinson wasn't able to make that catch. Would have been a huge pickup there for Kentucky. Oh my goodness! One of the offensive linemen looks like the guard, 68. I think that's Hornsby. He's grabbing his lower leg there. Let's see if he got rolled up. Yep, got rolled up. Looks like the back of his knee. Guys, this is one of the best interior guards in all of college football, and they're checking out his knee right now. Hoping this is just precautionary, but yeah, they're doing the structural test right now, and based on his reaction, that's not good. Okay, they're taking the knee braces off of him, so yeah, I won't speculate on that injury. Okay, he's getting up. Okay, that's a good sign. Okay. Guys, the best news for that young man is Kenneth Hornsley, junior guard there for Kentucky, is able to walk off the field with some assistance from the medical staff there for Kentucky. But man, just hope that kid did not suffer a significant injury. Don't think they would have let him walk off the field if it was anything significant. Yeah, so basically, in speaking from experience, I blew out my patella tendon in my playing career. And what they do whenever you have a knee injury is they'll basically give it a strength test to see if the ACL, if all the ligaments are still intact, and if so, they'll allow that player to kind of basically come off the field on his own power. If it was something severe, you would have seen the cart come out. So thankfully, did not have to see that. So hopefully, it's not too severe. Okay, interesting formation here by Kentucky. I'm gonna really have to study this. Okay, pass broken up there. So they're going to punt the ball back to Missouri here. And we got a one-score ball game, guys. And that just a quick update. That Vanderbilt, Colorado State game, the kickoff is going to be delayed just by a few minutes here. So that game hasn't officially kicked off yet, but shall be kicking off here shortly. Mississippi State, in a very surprise result right now, is absolutely laying the hammer to North Carolina State. We talked about it. This, guys, this Mississippi State defense, one of the best defenses in the SEC from last year. I have their numbers here from last year. So as far as being able to run the ball against Mississippi State, this was the fourth best rush defense in the SEC last year, only allowing 126.4 yards per game on the ground to its opponents, 3.6 yards per carry. So this team is going to be a difficult out for anybody that plays them here in the next few weeks. And I think there's a certain team from Baton Rouge that um, will definitely be interested to see how well this defense has from Mississippi State is performing in this contest. Busted play there. Connor Baselak is able to pick up a first down for Missouri. Moves the ball out to the Missouri 30-yard line. Guys, we're about a little under 2.5 minutes left to go in the third quarter in that contest. For those of you who are interested, Texas has the ball inside the Arkansas 5-yard line. Only 3 minutes left to go. So unless something really fluky happens, Arkansas is going to come out of here with a big-time win and go to 2-0 versus go to 2-0 for Sam Pittman there at Arkansas. And I can tell you there are going to be some very happy alums and boosters all week long next week for the University of Arkansas. You know what? Let's take a look at Arkansas's upcoming schedule here, because this was a very significant win for Sam Pittman. All right, so next week they have Georgia Southern. Looks like that is a 3 p.m. kickoff next week, as looks like Missouri just crossed the 50-yard line with about a minute left to go in the third quarter. Then they have a home game versus Texas A&M, travel to Athens to play the Georgia Bulldogs, then travel to Oxford to take on Ole Miss, and then a home game versus Auburn. So a difficult slate ahead. If you're Arkansas, and especially getting this big-time win, if you're somehow able to go 2-2 at the start of SEC play, because that Texas A&M game looks winnable now, especially with Haynes King hampered by an ankle injury. Don't know how severe it is, but he could be out several weeks. What I saw from Zach Calzada was okay, but it wouldn't spook me out of that game as far as Arkansas being able to win that. The Georgia game should be difficult. We don't know the status of JT Daniels. Ole Miss will probably be the hardest one in that stretch, just based on how they're playing. And Auburn is absolutely a winnable game for Arkansas. So really going to be interested to see how that plays out there. And Texas goes in for a meaningless score to push this to 40-21. Game no longer in doubt. We're out into the third quarter. LSU still leading McNeese 17-0. Let's take a look at that Ole Miss box score, because I'm interested to see really if Lane Kiffin still has his starters in this ball game. Beautiful reverse there by Missouri. We're at the end of the third quarter, and Missouri's inside the 30-yard line of Kentucky. So looking to tie this ball game up as the start of the fourth quarter comes up. Yes, Matt Corral is still in this ball game, and I'm going to reach out here to one of my my Ole Miss contacts and find out what in the world is going on with Ole Miss. I get it. You're trying to get Matt Corral the Heisman Trophy. The Heisman voters aren't going to look at a game versus Austin Peay and be thoroughly impressed. Corral, 21 for 33, 281 yards, 5 touchdowns, no INTs. It's against Austin Peay, guys. If he wanted to throw for 8 touchdowns in this ball game. He absolutely could. Da Vinci, welcome in, man. Let's see, top 5, and let's see if I can pull up the top 25 here real quick and kind of share some thoughts on that. Okay, so in the top 5, we're talking Alabama number 1. Yes, Ohio State did go down to Oregon as a 2 touchdown point favorite in that ball game. Big win by the University of Oregon in that contest. Let's see, number 3. Now, did they have? Trying to see. Okay, so Georgia, ranked number 2, did what they did against UAB. We already talked about number 3 going down. Let's see, who was number 4? Is that Oklahoma? Okay, so Oklahoma is beating Western Carolina 69-0 with 4 minutes left to go in that ball game. Guys, I refuse to talk about Oklahoma until they get to the college playoffs and actually win a ball game. So, Da Vinci, you're right as far as my thoughts on Oklahoma. Texas A&M is lucky to get out of Colorado with a win. Like I said, we'll see how long Haynes King will be out, and now that leaves Zach Calzada as their only significant quarterback whatsoever. So interested to see how that goes. Looking at a couple other teams in the top 10, we saw Notre Dame really struggle against Toledo. Iowa State was completely dominated by Iowa. Penn State looked good against Ball State, but I mean, come on, dude, it's Ball State. Cincinnati 42-7 against Murray State. Clemson 49-3 over South Carolina State. So, Da Vinci, I'm gonna agree with you. Outside of Bama and Georgia, we're looking to see a team really step up and make their presence known. I'm going to be interested to see in the poll that comes out tomorrow, where does the University of Iowa come in at? With Ohio State losing, with Texas A&M playing as poorly as they did, Clemson already having a loss. Could you see Iowa go from 10 up into the top 5? Honestly, I could. I could see them jumping Notre Dame. I could see them jumping Cincinnati, and would not be surprised if they jump Clemson. Also, really going to be curious to see where Oregon comes in tomorrow, because that Oregon team got a huge win. And I'll let you guys know on our website there at the Crunch Time Sports Advantage Network, we won't have an official poll that comes out until after week 4 has been completed. So that poll will probably be released sometime that following Tuesday or Wednesday after we run all of our stats. Right now, we're projecting, and this would almost be crazy, but I would not be surprised to have co-number ones with Alabama and with the University of Georgia. I have a really good friend of mine that I go on his radio show. And I absolutely said in that first poll, that if the University of Georgia beat Clemson in week 1, no matter what the score was, I would have Georgia ranked in that first poll, regardless of what our numbers say, as at least a co-number 1 in the in college football. Okay, let's see if we can get an update, guys. I know this is not an SEC ball game, but App State is driving almost at midfield with a minute and 12 seconds left to go, trailing by 2 points at Miami. All right, let's see if we got an update. Connor Bazelak with the scramble to get a first down and get inside the Kentucky. See, where did he go out? Well, they're inside the red zone now, so that could be a huge development in this ball game. Okay, so Missouri has the ball 1st and 10 on the 3-yard line. Little wide sweep there for about 4 yards. You're right. Oregon did not have their top 2 defensive guys. And yes, Kayvon Thibodeau, if that young man is healthy, he will be the number 1 pick in this coming draft. Georgia offense is suspect. Georgia won't Georgia won't play anybody until the SEC championship game if they get there. I'm sorry, I don't see Florida as much of a threat. Bazelak just missed a wide open wide receiver in the end zone for what would have been the tying touchdown. But I mean, let's look at Georgia's schedule, because it is, it's cupcake city for what should be the rest of the season. So next week, home versus South Carolina. Okay, that's a win. At Vanderbilt, that's a win. Versus Arkansas at home, I mean, that should be a win. At Jordan-Hare to take on Auburn. Man, if you guys are buying stock in Auburn, let me know, because I will gladly sell you almost an interception there by Kentucky. Going back through, okay, so that Kentucky ball game against Georgia, that may be Georgia's toughest game in the regular season. We'll wait and see if Dan Mullen makes the switch to AR. If he doesn't, I'm not giving Florida much of a chance to beat Georgia in that ball game. Missouri, that should be a win. Tennessee, that should be, oh my God, that should be a blowout. Charleston Southern, it looks like. And then season finale. Oh, wow. Okay, so we got a development here. Missouri just goes in for a touchdown on 3rd 15 run by Tyler Beatty, who, guys, I got to be honest with you. I did not think he was going to step up and – okay, so it was a screenplay. Breaks a tackle and is able to force his way into the end zone. If this point after is good, we got a tie ball game here in Lexington, and I don't know why they're calling that a 17-yard run. That was clearly a screen pass, but we'll wait on ESPN to get that straightened out. But either way, Missouri's an extra point away from tying this ball game up. Good point there, Da Vinci. So Anthony Richardson, in a game that was already clearly over with, Dan Mullen, for some stupid reason, still had that kid in the game and he breaks off a long touchdown run, but in the process, um, strains his hamstring. Don't know how severe that will be, but um, if Anthony Richardson is not able to play next week against Alabama, and Emory Jones is, whether Will Anderson plays or not, I mean, man, good night. I mean, just absolutely good night. Because Emory Jones, and I'm not going to pick on the young man, but to say that Emory Jones is a starting quarterback at this level, it's almost laughable, man. I mean, I don't want to be down on the kid, but I'm going to be down on the kid. Um, he's not good. I mean, he's not good, and Florida. For Dan Mullen, this is not loyalty. This is stupidity. I mean, jobs are depending on you making the right decision, and it's not because you're trying to stay loyal to a guy who's been in the program who did not transfer out when he got beat out last year by Kyle Trask. Um, because if I'm Anthony Richardson, and Georgia fans, you'll know where I'm going with this. If you're going to start a quarterback that I'm clearly better than, man, I pull a Justin Fields and I transfer. I pull a Justin Fields and I transfer because Emory Jones has still got years of eligibility left. And Dan Mullen, if he's going to do this back and forth business, man, I pull a Justin Fields and I transfer to South Carolina, Miami. You don't tell me this guy could go to Miami next year after De'Aaron King is gone at the end of the year and couldn't beat out Van Dyke or Jake Garcia. No, sir. I did hear that. Yeah, I love loyalty as well, but guys, I'll let you in on an ugly business. Big time football, whether it's at this level in college or the NFL, loyalty has nothing to do with it. Man, it's about wins and losses, and you can't walk into a locker room and look those Florida players in the eyes and with a straight face tell them that Emory Jones is as good of a quarterback as Anthony Richardson and therefore should still be the starting quarterback. You lose all credibility that way. You'll lose it with your team. You'll lose it with recruits. You'll lose it with your fan base. And you're going to lose it with the people who pay your salary. And I'm not talking about the administration there with Florida. I'm talking about with the boosters. All right, Jet, I'm going to pull up your question here. I know Anthony Richardson is from Gainesville. Um, where was Justin Fields from? Where was Trevor Lawrence from? Okay, so oh my goodness, that was 8. Oh yeah, that's a personal foul. You can't go helmet to helmet. Can't go helmet to helmet. And I think that's Wandale Robinson, and he's gonna get up because that dude is tough as that dude is tough as shoe leather. But that was helmet to helmet, and number 4 from Missouri is about to be should be ejected for targeting. I hate the targeting ejection. Absolutely hate it. If you wanted it to be a 15-yard penalty, fine. But Williams was just making a football play. But by the letter of the law, man, he's going to be ejected, and he's going to miss the first half of next week's ball game. Yep, forcible contact to the head. Nope, can't have it. Woohoo! That goes to my point there, Jet. I'm gonna put that back up on the screen there. Like I said, I've been in locker rooms my entire life, and I've been around sports my entire life. You lose credibility when you walk into your locker room and you are telling your players, "Hey guys, I'm not gonna play the best guy here. I'm gonna play the guy that I want to play because I promised him I was gonna do that." Man, and here's the thing: recruits are watching this right now. So you're going to go into one of these kids' living rooms and talk to not only the kid, but the parents, guardians, grandparents. And you're going to have to look these parents and guardians and people in the eyes and say, hey, if your son is good enough to be on the field, we're going to put them on the field. That's not happening right now with Dan Mullen. And I'm telling you, you will pay a price in recruiting if that gets out. Man, you just can't do that. I'm sorry, just can't do it. There's too much at stake for you to have that kind of reputation. Mullen, okay, so Da Vinci, I'll get to that real quick. It doesn't matter for me if you're going into recruit a 5-star, 4-star, or 3-star. Your credibility as a coach is on the line every time you walk into one of these kids' homes, walk into one of these coaches. And think about this, Da Vinci, let me know if you're from the state of Florida, because I got a lot of ties there in Florida. And I'll tell you something about high school coaches. Especially in a hotbed like the state of Florida, you need to be able to talk to these coaches and be able to sell them on why their kids should choose the University of Florida over Florida State, over Miami. And man, let me tell you, nobody has recruited the state of Florida, and I know it's more South Florida, but nobody's recruited the state of South Florida, especially South Florida, and I'm talking about Orlando all the way down, better than Alabama, and nobody's recruited that part of Florida better than Georgia. Okay, I'll put that up here. So if you don't have the respect of these head coaches, especially in the state of Florida, you might as well kiss your coaching career as the head coach there goodbye, because you are not beating You are not going to beat Clemson, Georgia, Alabama with 3-star players. Not going to do it. Not when these dudes are stacking up 5-star recruits after 5-star recruits. Alabama just lost 6 guys to the NFL in the first round alone. And they are right back at it. Georgia sent, man, how many guys to the NFL last year off of that defense? Man, these dudes are just as nasty as they were last year. You know who's going to probably go in the first round for the University of Florida this year? Kyra Elam. That's it. Nobody off of that offense, nobody else off of that defense is going in the first round of the NFL draft next year. Book it. How many dudes you think off of that Georgia defense that are eligible to go into the NFL draft next year will be either a first round or a high second round pick? Let's take a look. I can tell you right off the bat, Jordan Davis, first round pick. Rochester, potentially a first round pick. Nakobe Dean, if he comes out, first or second round pick. Tyke Smith, the corner, late first, second round pick. George Pickens can come out even off of a torn ACL and be late first, second round pick because he should be fully healthy. You tell me off of that Florida team, and I'm looking it up in our preview magazine right here. I can tell you Malik Davis it is a third day pick, and that's rounds 4 through 7. Jacob Copeland? No. Florida fans, hear me well. Jacob Copeland? No. Is not a first round pick. Anybody off of this offensive line? No. Damian Pierce? No. Brenton Cox? No. Zach Carter? No. David Reese? No. Vontrell Miller? No. Trey Dean? No. There you go. If Dan Mullen thinks he's going to beat Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, and let's just stick in the SEC. If he thinks he's going to beat, with 3-star players, if he thinks he's going to beat Auburn, if their head coach gets it right with TJ Finley, Alabama, and Georgia, whatever Dan's having, I don't want any of it. You better earn the respect of your head coaches there in the state of Florida, because you need them to help sell your program. And doing stuff like that is not going to get it done. PLM, hey, welcome aboard, Oklahoma fan. Oh, man, we ruined the perfect score. P, I will say this about Oklahoma, and I don't know if you missed the statement here just a few minutes ago. I will not honestly give Oklahoma any credit, because this and we're talking about them only because they're going to be a part of the SEC here in a couple of years. This Alex Grinch defense that I've heard so much about, we're going to have to see that before I believe it. Because there is nothing about what I've seen these first 2 weeks from Oklahoma that gives me any confidence in their defense whatsoever. Lane Kiffin to Florida. I would say, and I won't reveal any any sources here. If Lane Kiffin leaves, Ole Miss, he's not going to leave it for the University of Florida. I don't think some of the how shall I put this? I don't think some of the people that write the checks, boosters, given how conservative they are, want to see a coach like Lane Kiffin as their head coach. Okay, we got a fumble. Did Kentucky get that or Missouri got that back? Okay, looks like Missouri got that back. Kentucky's up 35-28. I would say now, Da Vinci, good point there. You'll still lose kids to Alabama from IMG Academy. I don't care if Lane Kiffin is the head coach at Florida or not. IMG has been a pipeline for Alabama since Nick Saban took over at Alabama. So as long as Nick Saban is the head coach, Nick Saban will absolutely get guys from IMG Academy. Go after Kiffin. I got to be honest with you. As somebody who covers this conference, Ole Miss fans, and I know a lot of Ole Miss fans. I know a lot of people that cover that team would not sit well with them. Hey, tell you what, you could go after Ed Orgeron as he's going to be fired here probably at the end of the season. Jet, my point exactly. And it's because Dan Mullen does not have a good relationship with the head coaches there at the University of Florida. Cannot say that enough. You have to recruit your state, especially when you're in a state like Florida. Not that you're going to get all the players, but you have to get your share of the players. And if you don't, you're not going to be able to compete at the level that Florida fans want you to. Because let me say this. The University of Florida is not the University of Georgia. And what do I mean by that? The University of Florida fired a head coach that went to back-to-back SEC championship games in Jim McElwain. Ron Zook was fired before he completed his third year in Gainesville, if I remember correctly. There is expectations at the University of Florida like there is at the University of Alabama. And if you don't meet those expectations by the fans, by the alumni, by the boosters, they will fire you. I don't care how much money and how much time is left on your contract. They will get you out of there and they will go get a Steve Spurrier. They fired Ron Zook. They went and got Urban Meyer. Don't tell me the University of Florida, I don't care if Dan Mullen had 10 years left on that contract and $100 million. If he does not meet the expectations there in Gainesville, he ain't going to end. He's not going to be like Mark Richt at Georgia and be there for a decade and a half with nothing really to show for it. There's expectations. He's got to meet them. PLM, you talking about Oklahoma getting forcing 7 turnovers against Western Carolina, I believe. I'm not respecting that. I'm not going to put any respect on that. Jet, like I said, I won't say uppity. I would just say it is a very unique group that want things done a certain way, and Lane Kiffin does not fit that mold. I'll just leave it at that. They wanted Dan Mullen because Dan Mullen was the offensive coordinator when Urban Meyer was winning national championships. So kind of like LSU's doing right now as far as the offensive coordinator, they couldn't go back and hire Joe Brady to come back as the offensive coordinator, but they could come back and say, because 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, if you will, we're going to hire a guy who was around Joe Brady. Take that for what it's worth. That LSU offense is still looking bad. Okay, we're in the fourth quarter. They're up 24-0. Okay, I'm going to see if I can get the box score real quick for that LSU game here pulled up. Okay, so Max Johnson for LSU, 18 for 27, 161 yards, 3 touchdowns, no INTs. This pause, guys, is not for dramatic effect. I'm looking at the LSU rush numbers. Georgia, any Georgia fan is watching this right now live or watching this on replay on the Mark Rogers network here. If I may offer my sincere apologies. As bad as your run game looked this season, I'm sorry, earlier today, LSU against an FCS team does not have a single running back that right now has over 40 yards rushing. Georgia, my apologies. My goodness. Davis Price, 8 carries, 37 yards. 21 of those yards came on one single run. Goodwin, 2 carries, 23 yards, 21 yards on one single run. Man, that is, wow. LSU, man. LSU, I mean, man, LSU's got problems. And they don't have itty bitty problems. They have Dr. Phil problems. Man, this guys, LSU. Okay, LSU just kicked the Cade York just kicked a 56-yard field goal to go up 27-0. Man, LSU fans, man, you guys are gonna need, man, y'all gonna need something to help y'all sleep tonight. Trust me, I have enough family in Louisiana. I know what hot toddies are. You guys better go ahead and start getting those right now. And a score that's surprising to no one at the with 4 minutes left to go in the first quarter. Colorado State 7, Vanderbilt nothing. I mean, man, thoughts and prayers goes out to Clark Lee for going back to his alma mater, man, to take that job. Dude, I don't know if there's anybody I could recommend taking that job. I mean, Vanderbilt is just a mess. So used to lose. Absolutely. Da Vinci, Matt, I love your opinion. I love the interaction with all the listeners on the show here. Um, Dan Mullen, even though it's a different scheme, Josh Heupel, Mike Leach. These guys are so ingrained into their system that they forget one simple principle. It's about your Jimmies being better than their Joes. And if they got better Jimmies and you just got some Joes, look, guys, that might work in the Pac-12. That might work in the Big 12. Heck, man, that might even work in the ACC and Big 10. This is the Southeastern Conference where you could have a top 15 recruiting class and have the 8th best recruiting class in the conference. I've seen it for a decade. A team like, and I'm just going to spitball here, Tennessee last year or a couple of years ago had a top 15 recruiting class. They still sat behind Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Texas A&M. You could have a top 15 recruiting class and still be 5th, 6th, 7th in the SEC. You got to go get Jimmys and just can't be relying on your systems. Purdue, I'll put that up here in just a moment. Spurrier is the reason why all of this pressure is on Florida head coaches. I'll go back to a comment by a former head coach in the SEC. Florida was a sleeping giant. Steve Spurrier got there and woke him up because of the recruiting talent there in the state of Florida. Lane would never succeed, am I right? Pruitt Dooley, you are absolutely wrong. Ole Miss could absolutely finish second in the SEC West this year. We don't know what Texas A&M is as a program, especially with their starting quarterback going down. Calzada being their only true quarterback with any chance of having some experience. We got about 10 minutes left to go in the show. Not a whole lot to talk about. Okay, Pruitt Dooley, are you a Vols fan? Because if so, I would love for you to go check out a podcast that I did on Tennessee. If so, please listen to it and give me your thoughts and opinions on that. We are down to about 4 minutes left to go in this Kentucky Missouri game, and Kentucky's starting to get behind that offensive line and really just kind of salt this game away. I think there are a couple of more first downs away, and if they kick a field goal, that's absolutely going to put it down. What do I think about the Tennessee quarterback? Hey, Dr. Cornfrog. Let me know which quarterback you're talking about, because the quarterback that started Mackenzie Milton. Not Mackenzie Milton. Joe Milton went down with some kind of injury in that ball game. So, Dr. Cornfrog, jump back in here real quick in the comment section. I'll pull it right up. But Milton in that contest was 7 for 12. If you're asking me my opinion on Milton, it's not good. This guy's not an SEC quarterback. Hooker came in and really injected some life into this passing game. 15 for 21, 188 yards, a touchdown, 1 INT. To quote Kirk Cousins of the Minnesota Vikings, Da Vinci, you like that? You like that. Yeah, if you let me know, like I said, which team are you? Okay, here we go. Talking about Hooker. Okay, so Hooker came in and actually, I thought, performed really well. And I'll let you know this, Pruitt Dooley, Dr. Cornfrog. I thought Hooker should have been the starting quarterback against Bowling Green last week. I wasn't sure why they went with Milton to begin with. I thought Hooker, seeing him play at Virginia Tech, was the much better option to run the offense that Josh Heupel wants to run. I think Milton, and if you go back and watch the tape, you'll see Joe Milton, and I know it's going to be hard for me to demonstrate this here, but Joe Milton likes to load up when he throws the ball, and it's almost like a Jamarcus Russell where he's got to rev those RPMs up and launch the ball. In a conference where you're playing against NFL caliber cornerbacks and safeties, you can't give them that long motion to where I know they were playing Pitt today, but where you give them a chance to really break on the ball. Oh my goodness grief. Okay, so Missouri just blocked the field goal for keeping this a one-score game with 2 minutes left to go. Josh Heupel is a young Phil Fulmer. Pruitt Dooley, jump back in here and tell me, explain that to me. What do you mean by he's a young Phil Fulmer? Do you think that Josh Heupel is going to be able to win a national championship at Tennessee? Do you think he's going to be able to win the SEC at Tennessee? Oh, now that's just ridiculous. I'm going to put this up here, guys. Saban is scared to death. Okay, look, let me just say this. Nick Saban has been the head coach for the University of Alabama and has never lost to the University of Tennessee. Let me say that again. Nick Saban has been the head coach for almost a decade and a half and has never lost to the University of Tennessee. Matter of fact, the closest coach that came to beating Nick Saban was Lane Kiffin. And thanks to two blocks by Terrence Mount Cody, was able to get out of there with a win. Phil Fulmer was not an offensive genius or guru of any sort. Randy Sanders was the offensive coordinator. John Chavis was the defensive coordinator. Phil Fulmer was a former offensive line coach that got that job. So negative, sir. Negative. Phil Fulmer is a less dopier version than Ed Orgeron. Both won national championships due to the play of a lot of other people that was around them. And credit both of them for hiring really good coordinators and having some fantastic leadership for the University of Tennessee. They had a guy named Al Wilson. Al Wilson was the leader of that Tennessee program that won that national championship. Fantastic play by T. Martin. But make no mistake, Al Wilson was the reason that team got to and won a national championship. Same for LSU. Joe Burrow, Joe Brady, Steve Ensmeyer, and Dave Aranda had more to do with LSU winning that championship 2 years ago for LSU than Ed Orgeron could dream of in his sleep. Phil Fulmer was the offense, okay, and not a very good one either. Not a very good one. I can assure you, you would never hear me say anything complimentary about Phil Fulmer on this show or anywhere else that I'm at. So he took a lot of credit for a lot of people's homework. Okay, I'm gonna put that up here, and this will probably take us right at the end of the show here. For all of you that don't know the story, so Phil Fulmer was was there under Johnny Majors, and basically backstabbed Johnny Majors while Johnny Majors was recovering from, I believe it was heart surgery, and basically undercut his boss to get that job. Phil Fulmer, fast forward a couple of decades later, undercuts the AD at Tennessee, becomes the AD, and then proceeds to talk Tennessee into basically probation. So for that reason alone, I have no respect for Philip Fulmer whatsoever, not as a coach, not as a person. There's ways to do this to conduct yourself in this business. And okay, so fourth down, Missouri just turned the ball over on downs, a big sack on third down. Kentucky's going to take a couple of knees and get out of here with a huge win, 35-28. And this is going to be significant for the SEC East Division because now Kentucky controls their destiny for being able to finish second in this conference. In this division. Yep, absolutely. I just mentioned that. So, just a real quick whip around here, and for all of the games that are going on, I want to thank Mark Rogers once again for allowing me to host this SEC wrap-up show. This Kentucky Missouri game will be going final here in about a minute. They're going to take a couple of more knees, get out of here with a huge win. Mississippi State, big time win against North Carolina State. Cannot emphasize that enough. Once again, the SEC dominating an ACC opponent. Now, Pitt in the Johnny Majors Bowl. And let me just say this. Rest in peace to Coach Majors, who passed away earlier this year. Terrific head coach. From all accounts, from what I heard, should have actually won the Heisman Trophy the year that he was up for it. And, man, he would have loved this ball game here. Pitt, hard-fought win coming down to Knoxville, beating Tennessee in that ball game. Interested to see if Hooker's going to be the starting quarterback for your Vols there going forward. South Carolina in a much-needed win against East Carolina. Auburn, 62-0 against Alabama State. Arkansas, story of the night, beating number 15 Texas 40-21. And guys, it wasn't even that close. Florida beat South Florida 42-20. Dan Mullen says there's no quarterback controversy. Anthony Richardson, 3 for 3, 152 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Emory Jones, 14 of 22, 151 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 INTs. You tell me. Texas A&M sneaks past Colorado 10-7, loses their quarterback Haynes King to a significant leg injury. Georgia beats UAB 56-7 behind 5 touchdowns from Stetson Bennett. Way to go, Bennett. Alabama beats Mercer 48-14. Story of the game, Will Anderson. Will he be ready to go? LSU up 27-0 over McNeese. Midway through the fourth quarter, Kentucky's here about to get this win over Missouri. Ole Miss 54-17 against Austin Peay. Guys, thank you for joining the SEC Review Show. It has been my pleasure. Can't thank all of you enough for listening. All of the people that participated in the chat, I really appreciate it. Always love your feedback, love your interaction, and look forward to seeing you guys next weekend. On behalf of Mark Rogers Television, behalf of my team at the Crunch Time Sports Advantage Network, this is Kenneth signing off. And remember, it just means more in the SEC. Have a great night, everybody.